Hi, my name is Paul Anderson, and I'm the owner of Fly Fishing Strategies Fly Shop in the Dalles, Oregon. And I'm going to be demonstrating my Alaskan Coho Clouser, which I've been developing over the last 6 years to be a super effective fly for the coho that want to chase something down and kill it. So I'm going to start with my hook is a Ichi X Point. Number 452. I like to use either a 2/0 or maybe down to a 1/0, but not much smaller than that. The eyes are the large lead. They're chartreuse with a black pupil, and I have this one already figurated in on the top of the hook, and it's already super glued. You want to make sure that they're locked in so they're not going to move around on the hook. And so typically I'll put the eyes on first, tie them down really good, super glue it, set it aside, and wait till it's rock hard on there before I tie my fly. The items, the material that I'm going to be putting on here on top of that is I got the uni, the yellow label uni thread, which is the 3/0. It's extra strong. I like to use white. Then the body material is going to be dyed pearl braid from Hairline Dubbing. It's really nice, flashy, just a medium-sized braid that does a really good job of covering the hook and adding a little bit of a bling to it. And then both the lower and the two upper wings to this clouser are Steve Farrar fiber. So this is the white wing, which this hook will ride point up in the water. So we always want to put this on top so when it flips over it'll be the belly of the fly, and then the upper wing is going to be chartreuse Steve Farrar fiber, and my favorite is this bleeding mackerel color. So I started using the bleeding mackerel on Chinook flies a couple years ago, and Chinook really love this color as well. And but chartreuse is always a popular one with salmonoids. Okay, we're going to start by putting a thread base on the hook from the eyes going back all the way to the start of the bend, and then I'm going to move it all the way up to the eyes again, cutting off the extra. And I'm going to tie in this pearl braid right behind the eyes. I'm going to wrap over it back to the bend. And the reason I put so much thread on here and wrap down all this pearl braid like this is that I'm going to now soak it down with super glue so that when I wrap the pearl braid back up going towards the eyes, that I wrap it over super glue. And what that will do is it almost makes the body into a plastic. When it sets up, it's super hard, like a hard plastic. And coho have big, strong, sharp teeth. And if you don't make them make your flies bomb-proof, they will chew them up, and you'll go through a lot of flies. So I want to be able to fish a fly a long time, and so super glue is your best friend. So I'm going to tie this off behind the eyes, cut off the excess, and again, since this will flip over in the water and the point will be up, I'm going to tie my wing that will, when it flips, it's going to be on the bottom. I'm going to tie it right there on the top. So I want the length of the wing to be about double the length of the hook shank. So I'll secure that right in front of the eyes, and I'm going to figure eight behind the eyes. Get a couple of good wraps on there. I'm going to cut off the wing excess right there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap, I'm going to spiral the thread back to the end of the shank, and then I'm going to spiral it back. Okay, so I'm going to I got some errant fibers back here that are a little longer than what I want it to be. That is as long as I want the tail, and I don't need it any bushier than that. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some more super glue onto this part of the wing, soaking it down through the threads and over the eyes. Okay. Now, another part of this clouser that I think really helps get the fish's attention is I'm going to put a couple strands of this lateral scale flashabou. This is the small size. It's 1/69 of an inch. And being that it's so thin, it moves in the water and it looks like a bunch of little fish scales coming off of a wounded fish. And so I'm going to tie these in right along the lateral scale of this fly. So I'm going to pull the front part back and tie it down as well. And I'm going to cut it so that it is about the same length as the white wing. Okay, now I'm going to flip this hook over in the vise, and I'm going to put a couple strands on this side as well. So I lay this beside the hook shank and put a couple wraps, and then I'm going to come back here and put it exactly where I want it to be. Wrap back of the eyes, and then I'm going to pull this front part back. So again, I'm doubling it back. And one of the advantages of doing it that way and doubling it back is that now these are locked into the thread and they're not coming out. So the next wing that I'm going to add is the chartreuse, and we'll kind of size it up a little bit. I'm going to be trimming a lot of these little fibers, these things at the end. I'm going to be trimming it off so it's the right length. So coming down on the point, it kind of will divide my material in half, going on each side of the hook like that. Want it right on top of the hook shank. Go over it, lock it down with the thread like that. I'm going to squeeze it together so I can see the eyes and tie that down. Figure eight over the eyes like that. Make sure that I have it where I want it. I'm going to trim off the excess. And I'm just going to get it all lined up. And now I'm going to put on the last part of the wing, which is this bleeding mackerel color. And I'm going to put that right on top of the chartreuse. Again, tie it down right by the eye. Figure eight over the thread. You got to be careful that you don't interfere with your lateral scale flashabou there. I always like to look so that the wing is right centered between the eyes in the groove there. Trim that off like that. And then I want to just make sure I have a good amount of thread covering up everything and locking it into place. And then I'm going to super glue the thread so that I've got it almost like a hard plastic coating. But I'm going to take this out of the vise, stroke the wing back so I see how I'm doing on the length. like this, and I can see that I do have it a little long. Again, I want it to be only about as long as twice the hook shank, maybe a little longer than that. I'm going to trim it. Get it so all of the errant fibers are behaving. Okay, and I'll put it back in here. Okay, and I'm going to check out how the build up on the head is doing. We're about where I want it. I'm going to whip finish it. Cut it out, and then this is where I top it off with more super glue. And this soaks in to all of the wraps. And no matter what, this fly will not come undone. So there we go. This fly is the #1 producer of anything that I've tried in Alaska for these coho, and super durable. So I can fish this all day, catch many fish on it, and that's what it looks like. So if you're interested in looking into the trips that I do in southeast Alaska, I fish out of the Yakutat area, and I do have just a couple spots left in my September 22 through 29, end of the month, which is when some of the biggest coho come in. And so if you're interested in picking up one of the last couple spots for the trip, give me a call here at 509-930-4406. And again, my name is Paul Anderson. Thanks for watching.